I have like a bunch of things that I think I wanted to discuss. And like, I think that you also wanted to discuss a bunch of things with me. So we can like take this like as a conversation. I have like some notes too, and like things that I'm going to be looking down and like referencing. So basically I just want to do like some housekeeping real quick. So I'm being here as like Dennis. I'm not playing a character whatsoever. So I also wanted to, have this conversation with you because I'm actually interested in understanding like how you think and how you see this character and how you get your opinions informed about this character and how you base those opinions on me. It's curious to me as somebody who's like creating something and seeing it from the outside and seeing somebody who has like a influence, like reacting the way that you do, So I just want to just first thing, like, do we know each other? Like, have we spoken before this or like this or ever before or no?
Not to my knowledge. I don't really speak to many YouTubers. I think we'd followed each other on Twitter about a year ago or whatever, but that's the extent. I don't think we've ever exchanged any DMs or been in any calls. I know certainly not any calls.
So you probably get like the majority of the information that you get about me on the internet, right? And from, I guess, like from your assumptions about what this character is saying, right?
Well, most of my assertions come from your Twitter feed, right?
Well, you're talking about Def Noodles, or you're talking about my Go With Dennis, like Dennis.
Okay, so I kind of see where this is going now.
Hold on.
There's two different characters being shown here. It's like you personally, and then whatever your character does. But when you're on your character's account or whatever, you're reporting like the real news or whatever. You're giving what I would assume to be your real positions on stuff. So at what point does the character defense, stand when you're saying something about one creator, somebody else is saying something about you, and then you can just be like, oh, well, I'm just a character. It's not really me.
We'll get to that. I'm just trying to understand like where you're getting information about me. Like, so you form your understanding about me and the way that you disseminate the ideas that you've been disseminating about me and the character Def Noodles. Like, you're basing all of that off of the Twitter page, right? That's mostly what it is.
Yeah, I tend to judge people based off what they say.
Here's a question that I have. So just going off of the Def Noodles thing, right? Do you watch the Def Noodles videos?
Not particularly, no. I think the last video I saw of you was your pyrocynical coverage.
So outside of the pyrocynical one, you've never watched the Def Noodles video?
No, I also saw the one that you did respond to Kavas where you cried. I've seen that one, but...
Okay. So you watched the video from 3 years ago, and then you watched the pyrocynical
3 years ago. Wasn't that in 2019?
Yeah, 2 years ago, sorry.
That would have been about 18 months ago.
So 18 months ago, and then this last video, which was about a month ago, right? So you've only seen about 2 videos.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you hate Def Noodles?
Hate's such a strong word to use, especially on the internet. I think it's very hard for me to establish or assign hatred to somebody. That being said, the Def Noodles character has called me some very nasty things, and these are things that I don't forget or things that I don't let go of easily, such as, calling me a fascist, calling me, I believe, a racist as well. For instance, one time when I attacked the Def Noodles character, it was asserted that I was only doing that because he's Brazilian. Now, I don't know if you're Brazilian, but I do know the Def Noodles character is Brazilian. This is something I only learned after calling them out. Now, I don't know about you, I don't know about Def Noodles, but I don't typically call out creators based on their race. I tend to call them out based on their words.
And I get that, and we're going to get to that. I just want to, make sure we get this, want to understand what your idea specifically of Def Noodles is. So, moving forward here for a little bit. So what's your biggest criticism of Def Noodles?
Ultimately, my criticisms, I think, of Def Noodles are they're very simple. I mean, my first interaction with Def Noodles negatively was simply seeing him tweet out a video that was critical of him and immediately dismissed it as, this is my biggest hater, talking about how much he loves me or something like that. And look, I get, being snarky with haters on Twitter, right? I blast people on Twitter all the fucking time. But usually the people that I blast on Twitter are people that are intentionally dishonest or just lying about me. If somebody's giving me valid criticism or whatever, I don't usually just go to just shit all over them. I'll maybe take a listen or whatever because, if they're coming from a good place, a place of good faith or whatever, then that's typically the positive, interaction you should give them.
I understand. So let's take a second and look that up real quick because I have that tweet open. So you see the tweet in front of you? This is the tweet you're talking about, right?
That appears to be it.
All right. So it says, absolute genius makes video telling the world he's madly in love with me. Hard. How do you interpret that?
Passive aggressive.
Passive aggressive? Do you think?
Extremely.
Yeah. From your understanding, you said you've only watched 2 of Def Noodles videos, one from about a month ago, and I think it was actually before this situation. This situation happened before that video because I think the pyrocynical allegations, they were already around, but his response video was
the video that I saw from you was certainly after this tweet.
Yeah, so you had only watched one video from 18 months ago, and then you had been following on Twitter for a while. Honestly, I don't know if you were engaging that much. I didn't see you engage that much with that Twitter account. Were you engaging with a Def Noodles Twitter account, or
I've seen some tweets on my feed, might have interacted with one or whatever. The only thing that I really knew about you, aside from the whole, you crying from Kavos or whatever, or sorry, Def Noodles crying from Kavos or whatever, is that there was a situation where Def Noodles had reached out to one of the D'Amelio's parents or whatever, whichever the underage one was or whatever. Apparently some videos surfaced for smoking weed, and apparently Def Noodles had reached out to her parents and asked if they had any comments on this video of their daughter smoking weed. So I thought that was kind of goofy or whatever. Those are really the only two major things I know about you. I'm not really connected to LA news or whatever. I don't really give a shit. Not really my thing.
We can talk about that Charlie D'Amelio thing in a minute. And by the way, she wasn't smoking weed, she was vaping. So Absolute Genius makes video telling the world he's madly in love with me. So that, as far as the Def Noodles brand goes, that is pretty on the nose as far as how Def Noodles would share something like that. So on the description on the Twitter, here, I'll just read it. I have this basic description of how this channel is meant to operate, right? So I say, it's a mix between The Soup and The Colbert Report. It's a satirical take on internet news and commentary hosted by a cat in a Minecraft house. Are you familiar with The Soup?
No.
Okay, so The Soup is this show that's been around. It's on E, and they're just rebooting it. They're gonna have this really funny comedian. She was like a regular at the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory. She's really funny. But before her, there were two hosts. There was this guy who like hosted it in his basement or something, and then there was Joel McHale, and Joel McHale hosted it for like 5 or 6 years, and he would look at like trending clips of like, let's say, reality television or anything, and he would sarcastically comment on it, And are you familiar with the Colbert Report?
No.
Okay, so the Colbert Report, it's what Stephen Colbert did before his current Late Show. So what he did was he played basically a conservative pundit, right? And he's not an actual conservative, I don't know if you watch his current show, but he's not an actual conservative at all, But he used to play one on television. So what he did was—
What a shame.
Yeah, well, he used to play one on television, and he used to basically get all the characteristics of, like, let's say Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly, and used to put all of like Rush Limbaugh and put them all into this one character and blow it out so that it was actually a commentary on conservative media, and just how like more left-leaning media sees a lot of like the points that conservative media makes as like dishonest, right? So he was satirizing conservative media with a Colbert Report. What I'm trying to do, and that's why it's inspired by the Colbert Report and The Soup, I'm kind of mixing the two of them, where I'm talking about internet news and internet events, but I'm talking about it through a lens where I'm getting basically the ways that people react to stories on the internet, and I'm blowing that up. So I'm getting behaviors that people exemplify on the internet, and I'm blowing that up through this character. Because honestly, I don't care about 90% of the people that I talk about. I honestly have no connection with them. I don't know who they are. I was talking to my manager about this the other day. If I were to make jokes, I would much rather talk about my own stories and be talking about other people all the time. But it's a way that I found to communicate my comedy, right? So, and that—
To get some views. Let's just be honest here.
I mean, yeah.
There's no shame in that, but that's a clearly, if we could all talk about ourselves and get the same views that we could, pull from a trending story or whatever, we would absolutely do that, because, YouTubers are by definition self-centered people. So, yeah.
Exactly. So what I'm doing is I wanted to have a vehicle for my comedy. And, before this, I worked with other like brands. I worked with Univision. I helped them develop like this. They had this like Latinx or Latino, like these different pages where they would create content for—
I believe the proper term is Latinx.
Well, I don't know. I'm not really familiar with the term. So I would create content, and I would create it from the perspective of being a Brazilian, because that's, and we can discuss that later. But that's where culturally, where I'm from, I don't speak English with an accent, but English is my second language. And up until when I was like 12, 13 years old, I had a really heavy accent. So I'm speaking from that perspective, right? I'm in that specifically. And after that, I tried to build like several YouTube brands for myself, and it wouldn't work. So this is what I found that worked, right? Because I'm sure you found out yourself, in order for you to create content that other people want to watch, it has to be useful. So in my case, I want to tell jokes, and the useful part of it is I'm informing people about stories that are happening in the community, right? And or like silly things that happen, right? And the prism of this, the focus of this, the way that it's coming out is through this satire, through this satirical character that I created, which there's a reason why I wear these. I took the headphones out, but there's a reason why I wear them, because I'm actually playing a cat. It's supposed to be a cat, and I have this running joke.
Do you have the cat ear headphones at your disposal right now?
They're like across the desk.
Can you put? I would prefer doing this interview with you wearing them on if that's at all possible.
I'm not in character because it's like.
Oh, okay, I understand. It's like you're like superhero equipment or whatever. You only put it on when you're on the job. I see.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's part of like the character. That's why I have the glasses here. These glasses have no frame. They have no like lenses in them. That's like I explained this when I hit 400K. My followers were asking me a bunch of questions about like why is it a Minecraft house? Why is it why do I wear glasses? Are there lenses in them? It's all meant to be a joke because like the joke of the glasses. You ever watch that Simpsons episode where Homer Simpson finds a pair of glasses in the toilet and he puts it on and he like immediately everybody starts thinking he's like a genius? Yeah. So that's the joke. It's supposed to make it because like a lot of people put glasses on so they can make themselves look smarter. That's the thing. Like I'm saying these idiot takes as like this guy who's like trying to pretend to be smart. You know what I mean?
Well, if you acknowledge your takes are idiotic and then people come at you and clown on your takes, then what is the argument there? If you're parroting what dumb people are saying and then people are calling you dumb or whatever, isn't that the point? Haven't you hit it home?
So here's the thing. Does a dumb person know that they're being dumb and an idiot? So I'm playing when Def Noodles is playing a character, of course he's never gonna like admit that he's an idiot. An idiot doesn't know, like just look at what happened a week ago. Like all these people were convinced to storm the Capitol and none of them thought that they were wrong for a second, and some of them still don't. Like, you know what I mean? How do you convince someone that they're just like wrong?
Right. I hear what you're saying, but like, if you're playing a character, or whatever, and somebody gives you criticism or whatever, your reaction is to immediately label them the worst thing in the book, which is, racist, fascist. These are pretty negatively charged terms or whatever, right? So it seems like if you're just playing an innocent little character or whatever, and then people are, you're admitting right now that everything you say on the Def Noodles account is stupid as shit. So when your peers, when your colleagues criticize you or whatever, why would you rush to try to damage them or whatever? This is why I just don't buy this. I'm letting you explain yourself. I'm listening to you, but I just don't buy it.
I understand, and that's your prerogative. It's fine for you to buy it or not buy it. I'm totally fine with it. So as far as idiotic takes here, I have a couple of examples. Trying to find the folder so that I can show you a couple of the examples of what idiotic takes are, and then after this we can go to that thread and we'll take it one tweet at a time and we'll discuss it, and then I can tell you more information too. So let me share this first before I press play.
With your hands. Use your hands. Stop.
Now, as every family psychologist and therapist tell you, it is not a functioning relationship unless at least one of you is having an affair. Because unless the relationship feels like you're sliding off a roof on a snowy day, then it's really not worth being in it. I mean, that's a pretty dumb take, right? Would you agree with that? That's a pretty dumb idea to have, that unless you're having an affair, it's not a good relationship, right?
Yeah.
So that's the joke. It's the irony of it is like I'm seeing these things and I'm validating them. These it works especially well with Nicocado Avocado because he is just so outlandish. So all I have to do is there's this whole, there's this framework in comedy. They call it, traditionally they say the straight man, but recently they started calling it the voice of reason. So what happens is the character does the crazy behavior, right? And then the straight man, the voice of reason, basically comes in and like grounds it by saying, wait, this is wrong, and then the more that the voice of reason says that something's wrong, the more the character heightens their behavior and the funnier it gets because the more insane it gets, right? In this situation, I am doing the complete opposite. I just keep feeding into it, so it creates an even crazier world. So like there's this setup in comedy that you can create an absolutely crazy world if both people are crazy, and that works even more on the internet because everybody is so grounded on reality on the internet. Everything has to be so real on the internet that to see somebody ironically, because this is just for the irony of it, but to see somebody ironically just say, hey, this guy's right, this is how you have a good relationship, you know what I mean? That's where the comedy of that comes from, you know what I mean? So that's a dumb take, right? We can agree with that.
Yeah, you understand there. I understand, and I'm letting you, I'm really trying to listen to your perspective here. You're citing me an example of you saying a joke in a video. Nobody's gonna deny that you don't tell jokes in your videos, but you understand that you can tell jokes in videos and still say serious shit on Twitter, all right? Like this whole, that just doesn't make any sense. Like it feels like when everybody was like kind of goofing on you over your comedy or whatever, and then your response was like, oh, I've been to a lot of comedy clubs. It's like, nobody was denying that. They're just saying you're not funny.
You understand that that's the first thing that Def Noodles would go to say, right? Because he's an egomaniac. The first thing he would say is, I'm like, just like Colbert, if you ever watched Colbert, whenever Colbert would get criticism, first thing he would do, he would like take the Bill O'Reilly route. He was like literally satirizing Bill O'Reilly every time he would do this. He would say, I'm great. Like nobody can criticize me. I'm a genius and this and that. Like I haven't gone as far as to have Def Noodles do that. Like he's a little more self-deprecating, but at the same time.
Well, why not? I mean, if you're going to go for a joke or whatever, you might as well take it the full mile. Like why stop there?
At the end of the day, this is like, and I've said this before, this is kind of like a work in progress. And I've run into like hurdles where people actually believe that that's who I am. So like there's like this personal fear of taking this character so far that like people end up labeling me as him and can't differentiate both of them and end up thinking that those are my actual opinions, where like I know for a fact that like I'm saying these things because it's supposed to be funny. So I just want to share a couple more of these and then we'll go on.
You also pride yourself with covering multiple stories. You cover like, what did you say, like 5 to 10 stories a day or whatever? Do you think everybody that's retweeting and reading what you have to say on Twitter, do you think they're in on the joke? Or do you think that you having the excuse of saying that it's a joke allows you to say slanderous things about other creators because, oh, well, that's actually not my real opinion?
Let me just show you these 2 other videos just to solidify this point.
Mommy idiot fans. What the fuck is the matter with you guys? You're losing your minds. I saw some of the duets that you guys did. To the little 15-second video I did for him. You know the one where I was just trying to encourage him to become vegan?
Oh, no, folks. The most effective way for someone to convince another person to become vegan is by offering to set them up on dates with other vegan people. For example, I offer the manufacturer of Nicolas Cage sweatpants to take his dog on a date with my dog as payment for the sweatpants. And it worked like a charm. I mean, clearly I didn't offer to take somebody's dog on a date so I could get a pair of Nicolas Cage sweatpants, right? We can agree to that?
Yes.
So that's like another, silly thing. Comedy comes in 3s, so that's why I have 3. Sorry.
Girl, we do not want to hear a song about this situation.
Hey, give Debbie a shot. You don't know what she's going to make for us. In fact, folks, don't tell anyone this, but I actually got exclusive access to the tape that has a song that Demi Lovato is making inspired by the failed bloody coup attempt at the U.S. Capitol. Democracy saved. Now, clearly, I don't believe that democracy was saved by that song, right? No democracy was saved by that song, right? We can agree to that, right?
Yep.
So I mean, I have another clip here, but we'll just go.
I think I get the point here.
All right, so let's open up that thread because I think that's where a lot of the contention came from. So, conclusion: there's a group of YouTubers who attempt to present themselves as the moral center of the commentary community. These folks dogpile on other YouTubers whenever they get the chance. Don't get it twisted. They would never face off one-on-one. They need the group.
Well, ain't that a statement that's aged oh too well?
Exactly. You understand that Def Noodles operates from a place of hyperbole, right? So everything he says is from a place of hyperbole. So, I mean, there are certain truths to the statements that Def Noodles says, but it comes from a place of hyperbole. I've watched your videos. I've actually watched probably more of your content than you watched in mine. And I know that you understand hyperbole, how it works in comedy, right? Of just getting something and blowing it out of proportion, right? You understand how that can be funny, right?
Yeah.
So that's that question. Like, he's basically...
But hold on a minute.
Yeah.
You said this comes from a place of truth here, all right? So you understand that that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, you tell jokes, but it comes from a place of sincerity. And that's why everybody thinks that your little criticism thing, or sorry, that your little multi-character, like, dimension thing is just an excuse or whatever. Because here, you admit to the fact that there are truths in this statement. You're simply using hyperbole to, I guess, make a jackass out of yourself. Like, who would actually believe that? But there were people that legitimately believed that. Was everybody who was retweeting that and liking that, were they in on the joke? Or were they looking at that and being like, oh, damn, some fascist YouTubers are going after my favorite YouTuber, Def Noodles? Like, you have to understand that.
Of course. So it comes from truth because all of comedy comes from truth. In fact, one of my favorite comedy books, and anybody who's watching this, if you want to learn more about comedy, I highly recommend it. It's a book called Truth in Comedy. And even Chris Rock, he says that I'm just going to educate them, show them the truth. Like it's comedy comes from truth. It's truth telling, but in a funny way.
So what were you educating with this tweet here?
I mean, do you deny that you and your friends like don't dogpile on people? Like you don't, like, let's say that somebody, for example, like if you get into a disagreement with somebody, is everybody going to come out of the woodwork and start tweeting at them too?
If they agree with me, then yes.
Okay.
You see, my friend group, we mostly agree with each other on major issues, but we also disagree with each other all the time. And you say you watch a lot of my streams, then you would know this. Because every single time time there's like some major controversy in the community, overall, we tend to agree on the general aspects of the situation, but we bicker and we fight with each other all the fucking time. Especially recently, because I noticed the dogpiling criticism is something I've been getting a lot recently. I will straight up say, like, when somebody joins the call and it's like, you know, it's confrontational at the start, I will literally tell them, if you want to talk to just me, let me know. If you want to talk to just me and Nick, let me know. If you want to talk to me, Nick, and Bowbox, but you want Edwin to leave the call, let me know. Whatever combination you want, whether it be 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 or 3-on-1, whatever you want, I will give that to you. All right?
So, you know, I understand.
I mean, I'm here with you 1-on-1 right now. What do I have to be afraid of?
And I appreciate that. And I don't think anybody said that you were afraid of it. I think that it's a general sense that people get, you know, and I think if people are echoing that back to you, then that's, you know, people get that. People feel like that. And I don't speak specifically about your streams. I speak mostly about, I think, the way that people feel on Twitter, you know, because on Twitter, it can just be so like magnified. And I mean, I even have a tweet of yours where you say that you enjoy directing your audience like at people, you know, like, and we can look at that later if you want. But
pull it up now. Pull it up now.
My mentality is unironically the best part of being a public figure online. Nothing is better than sending hundreds of people to validate all your arguments and overpower anyone who says you're wrong. So,
True.
I mean, I understand that sentiment, but that's probably where people are coming from when they say that they feel dogpiled. Because
You think they're coming from this one tweet I made back in March before I had any subscribers? You think that's where they're coming from?
It's not coming from the tweet. It's coming from the sentiment that you're
That's
expressing.
right. Well, I don't consider myself a comedian, but I do consider myself very funny. And one of the things that I like in comedy, as you had mentioned just previously, was hyperbole. Do you think this tweet accurately represents my opinions that, you know, anybody that comes at me, I just, you know, sick all my fans in them? Like, do you think that's actually what I'm doing? Or do you think I'm making a goofy tweet because some guy that day made a video saying that I was a pedophile and he got a bunch of dislikes or whatever? Do you think that's why I made that tweet? I mean, if you had followed me around that time, which I think you did, you would know the context of that tweet very well.
I mean, it'd be easier, honestly, if you had addressed it in a way that didn't make
Well,
it
I'm
seem-
addressing it right now. You're pulling it up. I mean, I'm letting you know.
Now I'm understanding the situation. However, it just sounds like this, and especially considering the criticism that you said you've been getting, and you know that what I've seen happen. You know, like you
Yeah,
know,
and I've opened up and I told you, all right? I have shit all over people that have come at me and given me disingenuous, nasty, false information, false arguments, or whatever. When somebody comes at me with like genuine criticism of the show or of, you know, some of the people that I have on the show, typically I'll respond, you know, in an amicable way. If you come at me with respect, with an opinion that comes from a place of good faith, I'll treat you the same way. If you come at me and call me a pedophile, then I'll raise hell on you. And I'm not saying you did that. I'm talking about this specific context of this tweet right here.
Gotcha. So, I mean, that was just what, you know, there's that. And I have some other videos where you talk about, I mean, there was even the video, you know, on Nick's stream where you said that you basically asked your audience to create a fake Def Noodles account and to do this stuff. And we could talk about that later, but that's another example of like, that kind of supports that idea. I understand that it's a joke, but like, I'm not actively, like with my jokes, I'm not actively like engaged, like doing them. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not like when I
Wait
said,
a minute, but you literally called me a fascist though.
So
you do these jokes. And I would argue that statement has more harm than me making a goofy parlor account of you.
So hold on. We're going to get to that part because that's on a different tweet. Right now, we're talking about the directing thing, right?
You are so lucky. I'm the most patient person on the planet.
I mean,
I'm a very tolerant, nice person.
I mean, I never said you weren't. I'm just trying to have a conversation. And I think it's great that we can have this conversation. I really do. At the end of the day, we both work in the same industry. So here's another one. You know, peeps complain about cyberbullying, like, maybe just don't be cringe and you won't get bullied.
True.
So these are the things that I'm telling you. I understand where your sentiment's coming from, but you understand why people feel like you dogpile on them, right? You understand that part of the truth of that statement, right? Because it's something that you perpetuated that idea. And in fact, sometimes you've activated it. And that's from having conversations with other creators. When I put up that thread.
Oh, really? Other creators are DMing you and telling you that I dogpiled on them?
When that thread went up on Def Noodles, I got several DMs from 30, 40 different people who said, you know, I totally relate. You know, the same thing happened to me. Like, this isn't a joke. Like, I'm saying this.
I'm listening to you.
So that's, you know, there was some truth to that statement, you know, and I'm just showing you like this perspective, you know, and I don't mean this as something of like, just like you gave Def Noodles and you give me criticism as Dennis, and you know, I'll take it and we can have a conversation about it. I'm also like just showing you that perspective so you can understand where that specifically is coming from, right? I have a couple more. I have like clips and stuff, but we can go to the other tweet. So the second tweet in that thread is, these YouTubers bait people to respond, and when they get a response, they say the person is too sensitive for responding. It's a cheap tactic to try to invalidate someone's freedom to respond and effectively shut them up. And
was this a joke or is this a real statement?
These are all hyperbolic and they're all within the character, but there's truth to every single thing that's said, right? And I mean,
wait, didn't you say everything you say on this account is idiotic, but now you're saying there's truth to it?
I mean, there's truth in idiocy too. It just depends. Like what's the definition? Being an idiot is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So like do something smart. If you do it over and over again and just expect, you can be an idiot and do something smart, but if you do it over and over again expecting it to be different, then you're being an idiot. So I mean, at the end of the day, and I feel like this goes back to even the interaction that happened with Def Noodles that day, where, you know, there was that back and forth with you, and then you said, oh, come on the live, come on the, you know, it felt like it was bait. And, you know, there's a part of the drama community that really functions and really is able to draw in attention off of that bait, right? Like personally, I don't try to go after that bait. I don't try to create bait or whatever. Like,
what's the bait? What's the bait? Because you're criticizing me on Twitter. I'm criticizing you on Twitter. You came at me and you told me that I ran from a discussion from you. So I fire up a live stream. You run from my discussion or whatever. Like, what is the bait? What do you have to lose arguing with me on stream? Like, so if you're right, you're right.
I understand. And I think the bait was, I think it was your response to that initial tweet, the one retweeting the video that was critical of Def Noodles, right? I think that the way that you responded, I think it was bait to just start a larger argument, right? Start a larger discussion, because I think the way you framed it in a way that...
Are you baiting me by coming on this stream because I'm giving you content?
I'm not baiting you. I'm just trying to have a conversation about this.
Okay, and I'm just trying to... And you understand that I was just trying to have a conversation with you that night, right?
I understand. It just felt like, you know, like the way that I saw it stepping out of the character as Dennis, like I saw Grady's video, and I can even show you like screenshots from my from the Discord, like after the fact. And I even spoke to Grady via DMs, and I like explained to him stuff like what was going through my mind when I shared his video, and he was actually very grateful. He got like 3,000 subs off of it, and I'm so happy. There were even tweets that day that I said, like, you know, I hope he gets a lot of subs. I think he was a very talented commentator. I think he did a terrific job. Like, I've had videos made, like people have made videos about Def Noodles, and the majority of it is just people yelling curse words or saying something really nasty or saying that Def Noodles is cringe. And I don't think that's like really profound criticism, because it doesn't really say anything.
Does every video made on a creator need to be profound criticism, or can people just do roast on people? I mean, all of comedy, there's always a victim in comedy.
Yeah, I understand.
And I know you like comedy a lot. I mean, comedy is just, it is based off of destroying a person or a thing, effectively.
There's always a target to a joke. I get it. My point is that Grady, I saw that his video had a lot of work put into it. He had actually articulated a lot of things that, like, even though I may not have agreed with some of the criticisms, like understanding how the character functioned, I thought that he did a terrific job articulating that stuff. And like, he had montages in there where he had cut like pieces of videos that were like months apart. So it's like, this guy did his research, right? And I thought it was great. I thought it was like the best commentary video somebody had made about the character. And I saw it as like a shout out. And as you'll see later, I won't share what he responded to me, what he said to me, but I can show you what I said on the Discord if you want, and what I DM'd to him.
Did you think the video was great and was a shout out when you immediately reacted to it and tweeted it out on Twitter? You know, you pulled up my tweet where I'm talking about sending dislikes to people or whatever. I mean, what was the purpose of you tweeting that out from your account with that caption other than to farm dislikes?
So let me just open that up, because I disagree that it was to farm dislikes, and I'll show you exactly why. Because my audience's reaction just disproves that. I mean, there were people in that thread, and you can go back because that thread is still up, who were saying that they were subscribing to him off of that, and I'm happy. I'm happy. Go and subscribe.
Are you actually happy?
100%. I mean, it's somebody who's talented. Like, I wish that when I had 900 subscribers, as somebody with, like, at the time, I think I had 40,000 followers on Twitter. I wish somebody like that had tweeted one of my videos and gotten me 3,000 subs, and gotten me not only 3,000 subs, but gotten me 3,000 subs who are interested in the very topic.
That's cool that he gained all those subs after the fact or whatever. But what if you had simply tweeted out his video and nobody really shit on you for that, and everybody just kind of shit on his video because he was getting dislikes as soon as you tweeted it out? What if you just buried his video in the algorithm and he didn't get anything from that?
I can show you the comments that were in the thread.
Because it's like cool that after the fact, you know, it was overall a net positive. like Susie Liu, who was another creator, she got my channel demonetized, all right? Now, after the fact, my channel doubled in size. A lot of people knew my name or whatever. I gained like 1,000 subs in one day or whatever. It was cool after the fact, but I will never say that me getting demonetized was overall a good thing that happened. And if I had to, you know, go back into history, I'd prefer that not happen to me, all right? So it's like, yeah, whenever something bad happens to you, there are always positive effects after the fact or whatever. But what if that didn't happen?
I get it. And,
like, were you tweeting that video out with the intention of, like, shouting out a smaller creator? Because if you would have done that, you would have tweeted out saying something like, oh, check this guy, you know, he made some criticisms of me. I don't agree with all of them. Overall, he seems like a pretty good guy. You should go give him a sub or whatever. That's generally what creators do when they're sharing a video that's negative of them that they still respect at the end of the day. What your tweet was, it wasn't framed like that at all.
I understand. And it's coming from Def Noodles' voice, right?
But that's always what you say. And you have to understand that people are going to get sick and tired of that excuse. Oh, it was Def Noodles saying this. Oh, it was Def Noodles. But you yourself admit that there are elements of truth in what Def Noodles say. When you're sitting out there tweeting this kid's video out with a passive-aggressive caption or whatever, is there truth in the fact that at the time you were a little bit perturbed when the video came out? Is that fair to say?
How would you infer that?
Because when you're tweeting out a video that's critical of you with a passive-aggressive caption, I have to infer that you're a little bit upset about the video.
What about it caused you to infer? Like, were you in my mind? Were you in my room? Were you...
Well, no, but typically when people, you know, are upset with something, they might react to it directly, or they might react to it in a very passive-aggressive way, like, oh, thanks for making a video on me, dude. Like, you know, like, sarcasm does exist.
So we agree that that's where Def Noodles operates, right? That he's a satirical character. He's a cat, literal cat, that's very sarcastic.
You're a literal cat?
That's a character. That it says it on my Twitter header. It's a cat living in a Minecraft house. It's a running joke with my audience too.
Got it.
So that's the whole thing. Like, it's, of course, like, after this incident, I'm going to be way more careful when I shout people out. You know, I'm going to probably not write as much. Like, that's what I learned from this situation.
It's not about writing that, you know, as much or whatever. You can write a fucking paragraph or whatever. But you have to understand that if you want to shout out smaller creators and really give them a leg up or whatever, there are ways to go about expressing that. But then again, Def Noodles is all just a massive joke. It's all a big meme or whatever. So I don't know, dude.
Some of the comments that were on that thread that day. So somebody said, one of my followers said, no cap. And then this one said, this is super cute. He's making a commentary video on you. It's like a little nemesis. I like his presentation, but I disagree. You ever get rid of those cat ears? Insert threatening. You see the cat? Like, that's the whole running joke. Like, it's with my audience, right? Here's another one. Let me tell you what the problem is, Def Noodles. You haven't fully committed to the catboy persona that's so deeply entrenched in your soul.
That allegedly Angelo guy sucks, by the way. I'm not even gonna clarify that. I'm just saying he sucks. So go ahead.
I mean, I don't have to agree with everything you say. I've had I've had great interactions with him. I think he's great. So I'm not gonna, I disagree with that.
He can suck my dick.
And then this guy says, never show a picture of where you live. That's the next step. And then he says, who picked the chandelier? So, you know, then the next one, you pissed off the high school kids. And then she put some laughing emojis.
What is your point by showing me this?
I'm just showing you the reactions, because that was the assumption that I was directing hate at him. So I'm showing what people were tweeting at this tweet as a response to illustrate how my audience was reacting at it and how they didn't misinterpret my point, that I was just giving this person a shout out, that I wasn't trying to direct hate at them, right? So that's the point.
But like in those comments, like they're literally mocking him. They're like, "Oh, you pissed off the high school kids," you know, devaluating any argument he could have against you or whatever.
I understand, but it's nobody.
Like, they're not viciously attacking him, but I don't really think that's your audience.
So let's finish these and then we'll have a conversation. So this is the tweet that started all the madness. Seriously, right? Like, how could he ever compare you to Keemstar? And then whatever. I love your content and I'll be supporting. He made some valid points. Just saying. Ever seen someone try to disprove a point or prove its validity so fast? You got triggered by a video with 1K views when you tweeted this, bruh.
True.
This guy made a ton of good points. I've been following you for months, so I think I'd know. You do a lot of the things he's mentioned. Don't be a baby. Take the criticism and make your content and tweets.
Wait. That comment right there seems to exemplify exactly what I was saying. Did that person pick up on the joke? Or did they think you were being passive aggressive?
I mean, it's totally, people are going to have, you as somebody who's on the internet, you know that people are going to have different opinions and different points of view about things.
Yeah, exactly. But by you showing me those comments of some of the people who like got the joke or whatever, I mean, people are all going to have different interpretations. So you've killed your own argument. Like,
no, I'm just showing you the gamut of the reactions so that you can understand that I wasn't trying to direct hate at him. like people saw that it was a video critical of me, and they
If
weren't.
I found a video that was completely fair and criticizing me, let's say I found a video that was just ripping into me or whatever, and I tweeted out, fuck this guy, go dislike his video, but then none of my followers did that. In fact, they liked the video, they supported the video, they were like, actually, fuck you, Augie. Could you not criticize me for trying to send hate, regardless of whether the hate came? And by the way, this guy's video was getting dislike bombed. That is just an undeniable fact. You're saying that it matters how people interpret it. What about the attempt?
Do you have screenshots to show that it was getting dislike bombed? Because
no.
As far as exactly, pretty big assumption that you're making. It has.
Well, that's not an assumption. It's what I saw. All right, I fully admit I do not screenshot every living moment of my life, but I mean I saw those.
It currently has 14,000 views. He gained 3,000.
Well, yeah, after a bunch of YouTubers. I mean, Optimus did a video shitting on you. I mean, a lot of people did videos shitting on you over this. So I'm sure the reception of the video, and we talked about this. He gained a bunch of subs. The reception of the video was turned around pretty quickly or whatever. But what if that never happened?
You can see that he was gaining subscribers. She said, honestly, dude, you made a great video for a new YouTuber. You got my subscription.
You showed me one anecdote. Like, maybe he was. Do you have a screenshot of him gaining subs before everyone else picked up on the story?
I mean, he tweeted at me right here. He told me, I have DMs where he's telling me that he was happy that I did this. And I'm not going to share exactly.
Was he happy that night, or was he happy after the fact when everybody sided with him? That's me asking a legit question. I'm not trying to get you in a gotcha. I'm trying to understand the situation.
I can't put words into his mouth. I can only tell you what he DM'd me. Okay? I can't tell you what he was thinking that.
Okay. And if I tweeted somebody's video out and I said, fuck this guy, I hope he dies in a ditch, everyone disliked his video, and he was happy about that, still doesn't take away of what I said.
There's a difference. I didn't tell him to go die in a ditch.
Yeah, I know. My example's a little bit more extreme or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, if I did something, obviously trying to be malicious, but it didn't even work in my favor, I'm still trying to in the first place.
It wasn't malicious. Where do you get?
Well, I have to take your word on it. I don't know. I see it differently.
I wasn't directing I didn't tell my audience, go and dislike this video, go and hate on it, I didn't say anything. I didn't direct, like, actually, compared to you literally directed your audience to go and do things. And you even tweeted about it, as we've just seen. So, you know, we can pull the tape back.
I don't think I've ever directed my audience to do things that I can think of. I have no issue. If somebody makes a video on me just claiming horrible things about me that are just objectively untrue, or they give me like these obviously bad faith arguments or whatever, and my audience decides to shit on them and dislike them, I have no issue with that. But I've never directed that.
I mean, you just this past week you directed your audience to go make a
on
fake account.
Parler? Okay, you know what? You got me. All right, yeah.
Yeah, so you just exactly
on a social media platform that was down in an hour later, that was shut down.
You still did it. That's the point.
One example. And what was the malicious act that I did to your channel? I ruined your chance of becoming a big Parler star. Like, I didn't know you were trying to be a big Parler YouTuber. Sorry, I guess.
We can go like to that point later. I just want to go through this like last little thread here. So don't pull a Nick, Dennis. And then how am I pulling a Nick? Remember when a reacting channel reacted to Nick, and Nick said that they loved him, and we went, I want him, LOL, sorry for no context. And I said, oh my God, I'm joking. This was literally within instance of it like happening, right? And they said, I know, LOL. Oh, and there's this. So this is somebody else, after I retweeted you, somebody said, bro, stop. I like you, but you're just proving their point. And then Def Noodles said, how is this proving their point? I shared a video that had 14 views and wrote funny caption. Most other creators wouldn't share a video, or they would write something nasty. I hope the person who made the video gets views. I know I never had Vic account to post me when I made the video. This was literally within minutes of me posting the video, right? So that's, I was trying to illustrate my point. And now, like in retrospect, and especially after hearing your point, I can understand how people saw it the way that you're describing. And, I would probably have done it differently. I would probably have shouted him out differently. And I think I even described in my Discord a while ago, I asked my audience, if they wanted me to do a video reacting to people who were commenting on my content, because I started seeing a lot of people commenting on my content, and, they wanted me to do it. And they like said a few different people, and I started like saving videos and like thinking of how to do it. I was just trying to be very careful. And then I saw this video. I was like, this could be good. This is like a well-produced video that I could start having a conversation with my audience about, and that was also the idea behind sharing this video. Like I'm essentially platforming someone who is saying negative things about something that I created. And well,
you're not platforming them, you're tweeting out their video. So platforming is if you bring them on your channel.
I mean, I'm essentially giving them 40,000 something people that I had on Twitter. Like, I've seen several other videos that have been made criticizing me that have like 20 views or something. You know what I mean?
I get that, right? But here's the thing, all right? You bring up the point that we can't read your mind, and that's absolutely true, all right? I can't read your mind. I have to go off of, you know, what you're saying, how you're saying it or whatever. So when I see you tweet out a video that is negative against you with a passive-aggressive caption, I have to assume that you're at least a little bit annoyed at the video, all right? And by you tweeting out, I have to assume that you're not tweeting out, if you're annoyed, you're not tweeting out because I want this guy to get a bunch of subs or I want this guy to do great or whatever. I mean, you say you're throwing him to 50,000 people, you're throwing him to the fucking wolves, man. And I mean, it's great that it didn't turn out that way, all right? That's awesome that he gained a bunch of subs. You guys talked it out in DMs. You guys worked it out or whatever. That's awesome, all right? But that happened after the fact.
And you saw it from the comments that are in that thread, that there were even
half of the shit that you showed me was people just shitting on him. I mean, they weren't being mean or like aggressive, certainly not as aggressive as I have been myself, but like,
understand.
They're dismissing his arguments immediately because they're following you. They're fans of you.
And I think you understand that the way that my audience reacted is very much like also sarcastic and little satirical, because that's why they were joking around, because that's why they follow me.
You got 50,000 comedians in your audience.
They're not all comedians, but everybody has a sense of humor. You have a sense of humor, right?
Absolutely.
Would you say that your audience identifies with you and that's why they follow you? They identify with your ideas and the way that you talk and the way that you joke?
Yeah, probably. I guess they have to agree with enough of what I'm saying and find me reasonably entertaining or funny to follow me.
Exactly. So it's the same thing with my audience, and they're on the comedy page that they know is a comedy page because they watch all my videos. And the majority,
if they know it's a comedy page, then why'd you have to put up like a pinned tweet explaining that this is in fact a comedy page? Like, you were telling me that a comedian like never reveals their joke or whatever, but you basically did that after you got called out for the Dixie D'Amelio situation.
I had it was Charlie D'Amelio, and it was
Charlie, yeah, the
whole situation, and I think I explained it. I talked a little bit about it on that stream with John Swan, right? That whole situation just showed that like I hadn't, up until that point, I hadn't anticipated having something go viral, and like as viral as that did. And what happened was that the context was completely removed, and I saw that people weren't going to the page and trying to and seeing that tweet. You know, they weren't going and reading my header. They weren't going and seeing that the framing of it was meant to be insane. It was meant to be overblown because it's supposed to be, you know, like satirical. You know what I mean? So that's why I pinned that tweet. And that's why, like, I've been thinking of other ways to, like, just make it obvious that it's supposed to be a joke. That's why I've been changing my format also on Twitter as far as the tweets go. I used to have it where, like, I would write everything, then I would write, what are your thoughts? And I would have, like, some kind of little punchline in there. And right now, the way I'm doing it is I'm trying to front load the jokes. I'm trying to front load something. That's why I write it.
I kind of see what you're going for now. You're going for like an Onion type thing, right? Well, when an Onion article goes viral, very few people, like, everyone's kind of clued in on the joke because the Onion is a well-established satirical news page or whatever. I mean, I say satirical news. It's a satire page, right? It's not actually talking about real news or whatever. The thing is that you actually pride yourself in how many stories you cover. You're militant in your coverage of these situations. I mean, you break a lot of stories, all right? I will never take that away from you. You break a lot of stories or whatever. So it's like you have like this sort of news vibe going on. You're like, ooh, I'm a journalist. I'm reaching out to people. I'm trying to get their word on everything or whatever. Why would you get somebody's word on your joke shit? Like, you're reaching out to these people as if you're a reporter.
So let me explain that, and we can later look at more information about that. So I even mentioned this on John Swan's stream. I'm not a reporter. I never went to journalism school. I'm a comedian by training. I've been doing this my entire life. I'm a theater kid. I'm a theater nerd. That's all I did. That's all I mostly know outside of swimming, because I grew up swimming too. But that's all I know. That's what I've been doing. And the character of it's like this Andy Kaufman, like on Twitter, it's more like Andy Kaufman, like I'm a journalist. Like I'm basically pretending to be a journalist. And I even had a conversation. I think Stephen Azark was there, and he said, you know, you got to be careful because actually a lot of journalists follow you, and they may take you at your word when you're being satirical. So that's
know.
I mean, that's why I've been trying to figure out ways to front, like I said, I'm front loading the joke where I write some like headline or something that kind of contextualizes it in a funny way. Unfortunately, the way Twitter is, like, there's no room for tone. There's no room for contextualizing things. So it all gets, the information just all gets jumbled, and like people will read a few words or they'll miss a whole bunch of words. So that's why it's actually really hard to do something satirical that is based on real news. And that's where the Stephen Colbert thing comes in. Like the way the Onion does their news.
Why are you reaching out to real people if it's all satire? Why do you care about their input to the story? And when you're reaching out to these people, let me ask you, because I actually don't know this. When you're reaching out to like Charlie D'Amelio's dad or whatever, are you saying like, hey, I'm just a goofy news page, you want to give a goofy response or whatever? Or are you saying like, hey, we saw this video and we want to offer you a response, as if, you know, LARPing as a journalist? Which one are you doing?
So I just want to show you something. Speaking of that, let's just jump into that situation and we'll come back to the thread later. So I just want to show this real quick just to end any suspicion that like I don't have any DMs that have been sent to the D'Amelios. And this is it. Like
well, you DM'd the dad, right?
That's the dad.
That's the dad. Okay.
That's the mom. Okay. And now I'm going to show you just like this is an app where you can make fake DMs. Okay. And this is also something else where I'm going to play this video. So this is the app. And this is how you can basically create fake DMs using this app. So I have all of these accounts already that I was making fake DMs for. I wasn't reaching out to like, you know what I mean? Like you can do that. And that's, you see that there's like already a DM from like an old thing in there. Then you just say like, I'm just writing for an example. So you can see hi, and I can change that into marking it as seen, or even marking it or changing it as though they sent it to me.
Wait a minute. This is a question. All right. Have you ever like produced like fake DMs of other people, or have you only produced fake DMs of yourself?
So 1 second. Let me just show you this last one, because this is something that before I found the app, I was doing this. So this is something you can also do on Instagram. And once it loads, so I'm sending this to myself. You can write, hi, you sent the DM, and then it's sent. I screenshotted it and then unsend it. That's what I did too before I found the app.
Okay, that's cool. But I'm asking you a question here because this is actually very important.
As far as like real DMs, like I've exchanged DMs with like you know, a few different people, and like I think I can mention them because the DMs I've made them public and like shared them as part of a story. So it was a DM from James Charles about a story about the drip crib, and that story specifically, I reached out to James Charles because it was a serious story.
You actually reached out to him. You weren't faking.
I actually reached out to him, yes, and he responded in a DM, and I put in part of the DM that addressed a response. And the reason why I reached out to him was because it was a very serious story that had a lot of allegations around this house.
Whoa! Wait, why are you talking about serious shit on your comedy news page?
This is the thing, and I explained this on the John Swan stream as well. I want to be able to like discuss also serious issues and cover things that I feel like aren't getting coverage. So, you know, there's this house in Encino that has been causing a lot of trouble. And I know a lot of people have been reaching out to me and sending me information about this. Like just over the New Year's, they had a party with over 600 people there. So, you know, the way that COVID is in LA, like, you know, it's ridiculous. Yeah. You know, so I hate to have to bring this up or even bring in James Charles into this whole situation. He said he hadn't been a part of it. There was, you know, he had been to the house once when they moved because they're his neighbors. He wanted to say hi. So he wasn't at any parties. I just have to say this. He was also very kind in the DMs that we exchanged. But in that situation, it was a serious story. So I reached out to him and I got a response.
Why are you covering it in the first place if it's a comedy news thing? And also you mentioned that people are sending you information. Why would they be sending information to somebody that they apparently they're clued in on the joke? They know, they follow you. They know that you're a jokester or whatever. Why are they sending you real shit?
Because The Daily Show covers serious news. Colbert Report covered serious news. It's not because you're a comedy page that you have things are off limit. I just try to, whenever I cover something that's serious, I started, and this goes back to John Swan's thing, I started putting a tag, serious, and they even recommended it, serious, indicating serious stories, you know, and like, I've broken a bunch of serious stories. Like this last COVID party, I broke that, that was like a serious story. So, because it's like the situation in LA is just so awful, you know, that's the reason why, like, I want to use my platform. I don't want to just limit it to jokes. Like there's like a three-dimensional thing to this character that, you know, and I've covered serious stories as well on my channel, even, and I'll say, look, this is a little more serious, folks. This is serious. I'll even put like a harder disclaimer on it, you know, because there are certain stories that just need more attention, and sometimes I feel like they're not getting it. So that's why.
Okay, I'm listening to you, and you have to understand here. This is my perspective, all right? Because when I enter this conversation with you, you're telling me it's all jokes, it's all satire, everything I say is dumb or whatever, and I'm saying I don't really buy that. Now we're an hour into the conversation. All of a sudden, you're telling me that actually you do talk about serious shit sometimes. Actually, there is truth in what you say. Even the goofy shit, there's still hidden truths in there or whatever. So my original question to you, which was like, how do you separate like what you're saying from the character? Because my grievance with you primarily is you call me a fascist, you call me a racist or whatever. You're saying it's just a joke, it's just a meme or whatever. What reason do I have to believe you now?
I'll go back to that. We can go back to the thread but just to answer your question, whenever there's something that's serious, I will tag it as serious. And in my own channel, when I'm covering a serious story in a video, I'll say, folks, this is serious. And that's how I make the distinction between jokes and serious. And after I covered something serious, I'll say, now back to our lighthearted coverage. I'll make sure that it's bookended, right?
Does everybody that see your tweet calling me a fascist know that you're a satirical news page, or you're just a jokester, or that you have a system in place that, establishes or divides the stories that you talk about as serious or non-serious, whatever? Does everybody know this? Because I followed you for a year, and I had no idea you had like a fucking you know how like on a map they'll have that little thing that like tells you what all the symbols mean or whatever? I feel like I need that for your fucking Twitter account, because it's so confusing to me, right? Because like you have serious posts, then you have goofy posts, but then you have like goofy posts that are like a little bit serious, but they're mostly goofy or whatever, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you should break down every single line that you say about other people, especially when you're talking about other YouTubers. You should break this down. This is a joke. This is serious. Now we're back to joke. Here's the serious part or whatever. Or at the very least, just stop talking about other YouTubers at all unless you specifically mean it in a serious way. I don't know, dude. I'm trying to help you out here, man, because at this point, I just feel fucking bad for you, because I feel like you have like this fucking internal conflict. It's like, on one hand, you want to be a journalist, but on the other hand, you want to be a comedian or whatever, and you kind of want to mix the two or whatever, but they just inherently don't mix at all.
Here's the thing. I'm not a journalist. I do this. That's the bit. It's a character. I'm playing a character. I'm a comedian. I'm an actor. I've had this training my entire life. I've worked on this my entire life so I could do it. And I can't do it anymore because everything in LA is shut down. All the clubs are shut down. I have friends who own comedy clubs, and their clubs are shutting down. It's awful. Like I walk around my neighborhood. I see people doing open mics in a parking lot, with like somebody will bring a boombox and put it in the back of their truck, and the 5 people huddle around telling jokes, because that's the state of comedy now, and unless you go to Texas. I know in Texas, it's a lot different.
Land of the free.
Yeah, you're lucky. But I have a lot of friends who are like losing things that they worked for their entire life. So at the end of the day, I'm a comedian. That's what I do. That's, I'm not fooling myself that I'm a journalist. And I said this on John Swan's stream. I do want to use my platform to raise awareness about certain things that aren't being talked about. And in fact, when I started talking about these COVID parties back in June, nobody was covering them. And that's part of the reason why the coverage went so viral, because people just started like kind of waking up to it and seeing, whoa, what's happening? LA was so bad, and I brought awareness to that, and I'm not saying I was the only one. There were a lot of people who were also, but that's part of the reason, part of what brought a lot of attention to my account was covering that situation, and just how these people who have millions of followers were being absolutely irresponsible, with their following, and basically making it seem as though we didn't have a pandemic going on, So that's what ended up, like showing me that I could start using it for something more serious, and like at first the COVID party things, it was always serious coverage. And then I started seeing that the fact that the influencers never stopped going, it almost became a joke in and of itself. And that's why I started labeling them as COVID party alerts, and then like heightening the satire of it by saying that they were pro-COVID, and just like, but even then, like I had this New York Times journalist call me out for saying, oh, they're not pro-COVID. They're just, and I was like, well, this is supposed to be a joke because of how ridiculous it is. You know what I mean?
That New York Times journalist is calling you out, though. They see, as you mentioned before, you have multiple journalists that follow you. Stephen A. Sark has made you aware of this or whatever. So that journalist sees your post, which is presented in a very serious way. They see that that you have a lot of connections with journalists or whatever. They see that maybe they've seen that you've admitted to the fact that, you do cover serious stories from time to time or whatever. Again, just like how I come to the conclusion earlier that tweet where you were going after Grady comes from a place of just annoyance or whatever, they could totally read that your tweet reporting a serious issue or whatever, like COVID parties or something like that. They could see that as a serious statement. All right. So can you really blame them? Like, you have this conflict of characters. I feel like you need 2 accounts or whatever. You need your journalism account and you need your comedian account or whatever. Because the two, like I said before, they mix like oil and water. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. And I'm trying, and to be honest with you, I'm trying more and more to figure out how to communicate those things. And I feel like I dialed back a lot of what I was doing before, and I made it more, like I said, I'm front loading the joke. So I'm like using more of like the headline is the setup for the punch. Is actually the headline ends up being kind of like the punchline, but I have these little headers that I'll say like breaking news that'll most definitely change your life, and it's the most useless thing. You know what I mean? Or sometimes it may even be like serious news, but not serious news, but like real breaking news. But I have other ones that are like totally unexpected, but it's actually something that anybody could have seen coming, right? So, I'm trying to front load. I'm trying to work it out in a way that it becomes clear to everyone, because the brand that I'm building is, especially on the YouTube channel, where it's very evident that it's satirical and it's supposed to be jokes. It's a satirical news channel / commentary channel, right? So like it would like basically dissolve the brand, like I believe that there's a way to do it, and these conversations help, I'm open to listening to your
You think that if people know that you're a joke channel, it's going to ruin the brand of your news or whatever? But if
No,
people...
that's not what I said.
Okay, clarify what you said, because I have something to say on that.
I said that if I break it off into 2 pages, how you suggested, the content that people follow me for is because they want to be informed, but they also appreciate the jokes. They like the lighthearted presentation. Okay. So I would be basically like breaking it off. And I do believe that there's the same way that The Onion figured out their format, and I don't think that they figured it out like overnight. I'm figuring out my format as well. So right now, I would say if you look at my Twitter feed, like it's I would say way less about the jokes, and it's way like I'm also purposely trying to choose things that are more like, I would say it's a little less jokey, than what it was like 6-7 months ago.
Okay, Matt, but listen, look, I could talk about your like little split personality thing or whatever. Like I could talk about that all day.
Personality, and that's
but it kind of is.
I feel like you're doing a disservice to people who actually have like split personality disorder. I've never been diagnosed.
Am I now?
I just have to point that out, because there are people who actually have that, and I do not have it. So I just have I do therapy. I have a therapist.
Well, my apologies to all of the split personality disorder people in the audience right now. I'm sorry.
I don't want to trivialize that for people, because it's a serious thing that people go through. But
you understand what I'm saying, though. I mean, we can get upset over words or whatever, but you understand like the point that I'm making.
I'm not upset about it. I'm just clarifying, because I really don't want to. It's something that's tough to deal with, and I don't want to hurt anybody who.
It sounds like it. I mean, based on what I'm listening to. But okay, go ahead.
I mean, I'm saying I don't want to hurt anybody who has split personality disorder.
Yes, we love the split personality people.
I'm at the end of the day, as I said, I'm playing a character. I'm an actor, and like that's what actors do. Like you don't question that Samuel L. Jackson is a character when you're seeing him on the screen. You know that he's an actor. It's just the majority of people don't know who the hell I am.
Yeah, but if Samuel L. Jackson calls me a fascist on Twitter, I'm not going to question whether he's doing that in a character. I'm going to know that that's a very real statement with real intent.
We'll get to that. I just want to, we took this sidetrack. We're taking the long road there, and I'm fine with it. So, and just showing you a few of my tweets so you can see that I'm writing way less. I'm being more concise, and I'm trying to front load the joke. So I'll explain this one. So I don't know what's showing up. Who could have seen that coming?
Who could have seen this coming? Donald Trump gets a copyright strike on YouTube, can't post until term ends.
So there's almost like the irony of it is, who could have seen that coming? Of course, like this was going to happen. It's more of like a way, like softball, even like more than softball. It's like really softball the way that it's now, because I'm leaning more into the new stuff. And then breaking news that'll most definitely change your life. Jeffree Star says, while he may not be sleeping with Kanye, he has many rappers in his DMs. He added he's now dating a police officer. So it's like, this isn't going to change anybody's life. That's the joke. This is like, it's like, what do you call it? It's not life changing, not a life altering.